Welcome back to United TV. This morning, I'm going to talk about the story that's been breaking over the last 24 hours. This is regarding Manchester United looking at a wonder kid. This is going to be difficult, though. There's already been, just to put this story out there, there's already been offers turned down. I think Newcastle put in an offer of about 25 million. Manchester United might be facing a battle with Barcelona, with Manchester City. This is probably actually about a year ago. We had something similar regarding other wonder kids. Chelsea often in this sort of battle for these sort of players as well. And Real Madrid are always in the lookout for these sort of players. So I think this is going to be an interesting one that maybe we find out more information, but this is going to be expected that Manchester United are preparing a bid of about 40 million euros, about 34 million pounds for a very highly rated player who a lot of people probably haven't heard of. I have posted a video clip I found in the Discord. So if people are on the Discord server, you can check that under transfer news. There is a clip of this. So that's going to be interesting to see because I think when you look at this, context is important. There's a clip there just showing a little clip of like some of the abilities he's got, unbelievable close control. You're probably looking at one of these players that is going to be the best of his age group. And this is something that Real Madrid, Barcelona, Chelsea, Manchester City regularly buy players this sort of age, and sometimes they do pay this sort of money. I mean, Chelsea have done this. There's been quite a few examples over the last couple of years of players this sort of age going for this sort of money. It is a lot of money, but I'm going to go into some of the information and we can discuss that. So let me know what you're thinking regarding this player. If you know anything about this player, this is your opportunity to get involved. If you don't, then I'll go through some of the news articles and we can discuss what information is currently out there in terms of this. There's definitely been a little bit of traction on Twitter and social media, and a few stories being put out, I think, from different sources. I think there's been information put out regarding Barcelona's interest and potential offer. I'm obviously looking at it from the Manchester United perspective. There's also going to be, I think, other clubs involved as well. So this is quite new. It's probably somebody posted it in the Discord. I think Jim posted this yesterday morning as being Manchester United's interest, but an official bid of about 40 million euros, possibly bonuses as well. So we are talking about a decent amount of money, and they're saying there's a big escalation now in the race for this player. He has become apparently the most sought after, one of the most sought after prospects in South American football at the moment, and. The difficulty is going to be United are going to be battling Manchester City, Barcelona. So at the moment, with like Barcelona, Manchester City, I don't know how quickly people are thinking this player is going to go into the first team, or whether we're actually looking at a situation where players might be loaned out. I think when you're looking at Real Madrid and Manchester City, certainly you'd be looking at a loan deal somewhere. I think with Manchester United, it'd be interesting to see where they view this prospect. I think you look at it as significantly more advanced than some of the players you're looking at, but this is more of a gamble. This isn't like an Aiden Heaven 1 million deal that's a no-brainer. This is going to be a little bit more of a difficult transfer to go for. I was thinking financially, there has to be this has to be one where you have to honestly trust the scouts and hope they get this right. It is very difficult. And in terms of this one, I think when I was looking at it, they were saying that he could play anywhere along the front line. But let's be realistic. If we're talking about a 16-year-old, then there's a huge amount of development. So at the moment, there's no position set in stone for this player. You're looking at a very just check out the video I posted on the Discord at some point, and just you'll see what I mean. But no, in terms of this one, given his age, he has been classified as a wonder kid. What's the probability that he's going to be going on to have a successful career? It's really difficult. This is one of those situations where, I say, the only danger for Yali, big up to you, Yali, as well. And also, thanks everybody that's in the comments, Cody, Jim, Rob, Stephanie. Please share the stream if you're able to share the stream. And if you do know anything about this player and you have got information as well, this is like a perfect forum to try and share that. Like I said, I will give you as much information as I've got as we go through. As the only danger club would be Manchester City. So yeah, Barcelona I think are linked, but I think they're going to be priced out. I think what we saw regarding this story, I think Newcastle thought they might be able to get a deal as well at a lower price point, but this club are not going to be budging. They're not willing to sell this player for a cheap price. They're looking to get significant money, and it's the sort of money that at this point in time for Manchester United, you've got to look at how much they can spend on different positions. And I don't think it's necessarily a priority, but this is one of those players where if you're thinking that if you're looking at top quality players at a very young age, my mind starts thinking like, are you looking for like another sort of Neymar? Are you looking for a player that potentially would cost an astronomical money in a few years' time? Because we have seen people talk about players like Boadi that made unbelievable performances at age 17. So you can fast forward things a bit quickly. From a Manchester United perspective, I'd be saying JJ Gabriel as a young age as well. You're looking at players like that that are just levels above their peers and their age group. So that's kind of the comparison I would go for. And he's a very exciting player. It's actually quite difficult regarding these players to try and JJ Gabriel, Manchester United, and possibly have a fight to keep him at the club in the future. But again, this is the situation we got with this player that he's definitely going to be leaving. He's definitely going to be going for decent money. The question is going to be, do Manchester United prioritise this? Would they be prepared to go even a little bit higher? I mean, that's the difficulty. But Stephanie said, I'm amazed that this is our priority, first signing this summer, when the obvious is being overlooked again, say midfield. I think this one feels like it's an escalation and other teams are interested. I think one of the things that might be a factor, it might be that Newcastle put in that bid and other teams are actually circling. So it might be that at this point in time that this might be time dependent, that you've got to get in early to try and get this deal done. So again, I don't think this is the priority, but I think sometimes if a deal's going to be happening quite quickly, you need to get involved. We saw that last year with a few other younger players we're looking at. And so the sad thing is, so we cannot buy a 16-year-old, use them right away. They'll need to stay in Brazil till they're 18. And will he develop there? It's a difficult one, isn't it? This is one where it's interesting that Manchester United are looking in this direction, but again, it's something that we haven't seen United do particularly successfully recently. So to go into this, I think the exciting thing is, I suppose for the good thing is, if you look at teams that are genuinely run quite well, and they're usually pretty good at procuring younger talent. You look at teams like Real Madrid, you look at teams like Manchester City, and actually Newcastle are looking to try and get some cheaper options as they look to try and rebuild their team. At least Manchester United are looking in the right direction. And this is something we said about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, that South America is definitely an area where Manchester United thought they'd been missing out like recently. So in recent years, United do feel like they've been missing out on this market. And I think this is why we're seeing, say, a Roscoe was a signing that we haven't seen him play yet. And you say Leon is another signing. And Manchester United is a clear strategy that they are looking a bit more in this area. And it's just something that we needed to do. But to go through this, so the offer from Newcastle was 25 million euros, 21.5 million pounds. That is, there was going to be some in bonuses that was rejected. So in terms of like what's the lowest you could get him for, 25 million euros, definitely not acceptable. So we're looking at they want to get the expectation of about 40 million euros. It seems that Manchester United are prepared to go pretty close to that. There is a couple of factors as well, is that there's another player they've got who I think he's been linked with another club as well. So it might depend on other sales coming out of the club. And I think Napoli made a 30 million offer for one of the other players, and that could maybe affect their stance on the player. The thing that makes me, yeah, I think the club want to wait to see if I'll just go through the which player it is. They want to see if Alan, 22-year-old, is a regular starter. They want to see if he gets sold. It looks at the moment Napoli have had a 35 million euro bid turned down. It looks like they might come back with another offer, in which case that might mean that they want to keep him. I think the situation with this one is that clearly they need to keep some of these players, and Palmeiras don't want to lose two top quality players. What what would be the obvious scenario for me is going to be if Manchester United bought him. You can imagine like Chelsea buying these players as well and doing this sort of deal. If you buy these players, then you're going to have to probably loan them out. But if he gets loaned back in the South American team, is that going to maybe is it going to be as good as if you can get a player in the academy in the UK and maybe play football at a higher level, or maybe look at other options for development? That's kind of the factor there. And for so I just saw this comment and say I'll just say for people that are tuning in, there is going to be there is a clip in the Discord server for people to look at. If you want to just see a clip of what the player's capable of at the moment, this is not like an ordinary 16-year-old that's going to need 6 years of development. This is somebody that you're probably thinking over the next couple of years could suddenly become a name we hear about. So I think it's going to, I would just honestly say that if you're looking at this amount, say 40 million euros, it's not going to be 6 years of development. This is going to be a player that potentially is a lot more expensive in a couple of years. I think you fast forward some of these players, go to a different club, and the price tag is going to be huge. So at the moment, I'll have to double check, but I think it's pretty early on, Yali. So at the moment, I think he might be in the youth rather than first team, but I think it's a matter of time. I think it's like that sort of stage of his career. So this is like ridiculously early. I said to compare it with the UK and to compare it with Manchester United, this is a little bit like Barcelona trying to get JJ Gabriel, where you look at one of the best prospects around, and that's kind of what you're looking at. So like JJ Gabriel has not kicked the ball for Manchester United's first team, but there's everybody talking about him, discussing what he's capable of, and I think most people think he's going to be a star. And people are wondering, right? Are Barcelona going to seriously try and poach JJ Gabriel? That's probably the argument. And this is what we're seeing is that given the budgets of South American teams compared with European teams, we see this every year. The top quality players in South America, Barcelona and Real Madrid have been all over this market for decades. Like if you look at top quality players coming through, Real Madrid and Barcelona have usually been at the front of the queue trying to sign them up, and they don't. I'm not going to say they all work out. I'm not going to say they all become superstars, but you do get a few players coming through at a very young age that do end up in the Real Madrid team, that do end up in the Barcelona team. And this is what Manchester United, Chelsea, Manchester City, this is what they're trying to do. The Premier League now has as much money, and if not more, as some of the top teams in Europe. Real Madrid, Barcelona have been the top teams. It's probably one of these situations where if you spent 40 million euros on this is obviously, I think this is, I'm not going to say it's not a risky deal. It's a lot of money. You've got to be, this is probably where you're really trusting the scouts, like really trusting the scouts to get it right. Because if you get it right, then you could be looking at a lot of money, like a lot of money. I say Kobe would look, no, I don't think it's the point. I think it's like, if you look at JJ Gabriel, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at the potential. So I would say that for me, when you look at it, Newcastle United were prepared to pay 25 million. That's where the money started so far. Newcastle United were prepared to pay 25 million. Like, would you take 25 million for JJ Gabriel now? Is probably the question. If you reverse it, if you look at one of the best prospects coming through your academy, JJ Gabriel, JJ Gabriel is not playing in the Premier League, but would you take 20? Would you sell him for 25, 30 million? That's probably what you're looking at. And so Real Madrid, City, Barcelona, Bayern Munich all have world-class squads, and they can afford development players, but we don't. So we need players who are ready today. I suppose the bottom line is, do we really know how much Manchester United can spend this summer? That we look at the budget, how much money is Manchester United going to bring in? They've got Champions League football. We've got we've got extra money coming in from sales of players that have left. Like Rasmus is going to be a big sale. Marcus Rashford is going to be a big sale. Money's coming in. Is this going to be? So, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. If I was like looking at Manchester United, my priority would be in the very short term. My priority would be signings for the first team. Make sure you get Champions League football every single season. And these players these are bonus signings, aren't they? Aiden Heaven, Leon Orozco, they're so cheap that they're absolutely fantastic deals. This is the first very young player where we're looking at potentially a lot more money. That's why I think it's a difficult one. I mean, maybe at some point I put a poll in the chat and say, would you sign this player? And at the moment, I don't know. I would really try and urge you to kind of think like, how much would you sell JJ Gabriel for if you look at it that way? Like, how much would you be selling him for? I think United look at this in terms of that they're going to go for first team players as well. They have to do that. That's a necessity. but there's a few players that they just feel like one or two per season that they just feel like they need to try and get in. That's what I'm thinking. If you look like for me, like Buwadi would be a good example of a player that maybe a year ago we could have got quite cheap, but it is quite tricky. I think what we're looking at is trying to go for a player that's going to be potentially cheaper than he would be in a couple of years' time. This is difficult, isn't it? Because when you start looking at the players that Brighton scout, the players that Bournemouth or Brentford scout, you start looking at players that don't have as much information on them because they're quite young. I'd say we need 7 to 8 first team players this season. I'd say using 34 million on a future player is not what United should do right now. So Johnny, yeah, I'm going to say I probably agree with you. I probably agree that if I was going to look at Manchester United's transfer window, I think the priority has got to be fixing the first team. This deal, like if United can spend 34 million pounds on a future prospect that I can't really say for any sort of certainty whether he's going to be ready for European football at age 17, 18, 19. I mean, will look at Yamal, Neymar as examples of players that have done that. I'm not sure how well Naipan's got on at Real Madrid this year, but he was a player we talked about last season. It is difficult, isn't it? Like for every player that comes through at that sort of age, nobody knows if they're going to be having the career trajectory of Yamal or Garnacho or Kobe. These players coming through at that age, it is a bit of a gamble. I think the only thing I can think of regarding, say, Barcelona, Real Madrid, is when they've done this in the past, they probably got these players cheaper. When you look at players that they got from South American leagues, say 10 years ago, the money was probably a lot lower. But what's happened is more and more teams are realizing that Barcelona, Real Madrid are getting some quite good deals and they're starting to get involved. That's why Newcastle trying to get this deal done as well, trying to put in an early bid. This is why the price is going up. So it's going to get to a point where the price becomes a bit too high and you don't actually get any bargains anymore. And it becomes a bit more difficult as well. But I would say if you're looking at the first team, I think 7, 8 players, considering what we need to do, I think 7 would be perfect. Really, it's difficult, isn't it? I say that's why United are looking at him because they think he's going to be worth a bomb in the future. And so you're looking at sell on value. I think most clubs, like Chelsea, are the perfect example of a club that tend to look at sell on value, but they made a mistake with Garnacho because they're not going to sell Garnacho for a profit. But they're always looking at future value. Manchester City, they usually look for players. I think Manchester City look for players of the sort of 22, 23 age range a lot of the time. A player that's going to have sell on value after say 5 years when they're sort of late twenties, but they are going to benefit Man City loads. This is like another one where it's a crazy situation, isn't it? Like nobody knows how good he's going to be. We just have to kind of guess the scouts are getting it right. I mean, the fact that top teams around Europe are all queuing up to try and bid it for him suggests he's obviously a good player. I think the money seems a bit steep, but also I think Manchester United have different priorities. Like we're playing catch up with some of the teams in the Premier League. We need to try and get our first team up there as soon as possible. I think that's why we're looking at this. I mean, when we look at it, I remember Aiden Heaven, and I can't remember who was talking about Aiden Heaven at the time, but when I was discussing him as a signing, people were not very keen at the time because he was an academy player, and it might be that if you're 16 and if you're looking at a player that's in the academy about to break into the first team, is it going to be a player that suddenly in a year's time is worth a lot more? Is it going to be a situation where suddenly it seems like he's the first team player a lot quicker? Nobody knows if it's going to be like say a couple of years or like 3 or 4 years, but it is the sort of player that Chelsea would buy a lot of these players and loan them out. I think this is getting to the price actually where it's a bit too expensive for Chelsea to make a guaranteed profit. It is a bit risky. The Saint in disguise, welcome to the chat, welcome to the channel. Would you risk giving Carrick the job and wasting another 2 years on the rebuild, or would you bring in a proper manager, head coach experience? That's a very good question, and it's something that I think if we ask 10 people, we'll get 10 answers. Um, the difficulty I've got is that I think it would be great to bring in a proven head coach with vast experience. Obviously, definitely need to fix the first team at the same time. I think the question is going to be this is like my honest view. who are the options that want Manchester United? If I had a list of options to choose from that were available and wanted Manchester United, I can make a decision regarding that. But I think the ideal scenario for me would be to try and get someone with experience. That would be the ideal scenario. It would feel that I'll say this about Carrick. Carrick's done a very good job. The reasons why Carrick might not be ideal would potentially be the Champions League experience and also just coaching at that level. If you look at some of the coaches that have been winning the Champions League in recent years, that sort of experience you just have to go for it to gain. There's no doubt that Carrick's got unbelievable experience as a player at the very top level. So there's no doubt that he's got experience from that perspective. But it's a complete unknown, isn't it? I have no idea how Michael Carrick's going to get on next season with the Champions League and with like trying to actually organise the team between two games a week. I don't know. It's going to be a difficult job for him. I think if you had a question mark over like, if Nagelsmann really wanted the job, I think it's a really difficult choice. Like from a fan perspective, I think from a Manchester United perspective, if Nagelsmann wanted the job, I think he's got an extremely good chance. I still don't know what. If I was trying to guess what the club do, I honestly can't. I don't know what they're going to do because sometimes I think they're going to stick with Michael Carrick, and the news from Michael Carrick's very positive, and other times I look at it and think they're going to switch to Nagelsmann. I just don't know. If people want to post some views on that, then let me know. But I do not know at this point in time. So just to go back to this, say it does look a little bit like I know mentioned Barcelona, and the reason why Barcelona might potentially have a decent shout regarding this player as well. I know financially we think Barcelona might struggle, but they do have like their sporting director Deco has had direct contact with João Paulo Sampaio, who's the Palmeiras academy coordinator. So I think Deco's got a good relationship with, and it's a little bit like Vivel's got a very good relationship with a few teams in Germany. So Deco's got some good relationships with some of the academy coordinators in South America. Also, his representatives have met with several European clubs already. So I think a lot of things have gone behind the scenes with Conceição's representatives actually speaking to. Apparently, his family have been traveling across Europe, England, France. Paris Saint-Germain is the big team in France that have been monitoring this one, but Paris Saint-Germain seem to be a bit out of the loop at the moment. It looks like Paris Saint-Germain are just seeing what unfolds. I think they've got a very good team. They're looking for potential future stars as well, but they're probably I don't know. Paris Saint-Germain, I would say budget-wise, should be no problem at all. But it looks like they're also a team that's in the mix. I suppose maybe I don't know. I think whatever happens, that he would get a good deal from any of these clubs. But it does seem to be interesting that but we look at the story and think, right, who is this player? How much is he going to cost? What can he offer the team? But already the player and his representatives and his family have actually been across Europe meeting with lots of different teams. So all the kind of groundwork regarding teams that are interested in and potential destinations for this player, a lot of this has already been done. So we're kind of finding out about the story about now, but this must have been in the making for a long time. So it does go to show that there's a lot of things happening. Most football clubs are actually quite proactive behind the scenes. It's just not reported on because it just takes a long time for anything to happen. When you see a bid going in, like the groundwork, the representative meetings, the terms, everything would have actually been discussed for probably a few months before we even hear anything about it. And this is probably a difficult one, isn't it? Saying it doesn't matter who the coach is, we need a rebuild. I think I think the rebuild's like priority. It does seem to be that Manchester United have said a few times, and I don't know if definitely agree, but they were saying United feel like if they get the transfers wrong, that's more serious than if they get the head coach wrong. So it looks like Manchester United's priority, rightly or wrongly, might be in the direction of getting the transfers correct first. So it does seem that there obviously is conversations with different head coaches, but I think it's actually difficult at this point in time. Say you like Ahmed, but is not developing as expected. So take I think Ahmed Jallo, he's got more competition in the team now, hasn't he? So it is something that maybe, maybe with Omajolo, I mean, I think if you look at Manchester United, the fact we're third, then I think we can scrutinise individual players. But the fact that Manchester United have got back up to third suggests that there has been significant improvements in the team. It just hasn't quite gone. Some performances just haven't gone as well as we'd like. But again, overall, over the whole season, I think a lot of attacking players have played their part. Omajolo's made his contribution, and Buemo, Cunha, Sesko, they've all made their contribution to actually getting a lot more goals in the team. But no, work to be done. No one's going to say there's not work to be done, but it's definitely an improvement. Um, the thing that I like, the thing that I would look at in terms of priority is if Manchester United are looking at buying a player like this, okay, best case scenario, couple of years he can play for the first team as a 18-year-old, and then maybe his value goes up, but I'm not sure how much his value is going to go up. So say you buy him for 35, 40 million and his value goes up to like 60 or 70. If you're buying him at this age, you're saving 25, 30 million. But if you miss out on Champions League football, you lose 100 million per year. If you miss out on Champions League football, the financial impact is incredible. And actually, it's not just that. If you're not in Champions League, players that are this sort of age, or players that are players like Anderson, Tonali, um, Adam Wharton, that any player we've been talking about recently, they don't come to Manchester United if we finish 10th. Mark Gahey was one of the players that we were talking about, but Manchester City had a guarantee of Champions League football. In January, we were in a mess, and we were getting rid of our head coach. We weren't going to be getting some menu because our club was a bit of a shambles at that time. If you finish out a Champions League football, you're not front of the queue. You're not even like in the first three or four clubs in the queue because there'll be a lot of other clubs that can offer Champions League football plus the same money and same financial package that we can. So if I was going to say, right, what's my priority? My priority is 100% fixing the first team to get stability. That's what I'm thinking. Would I rather spend my money on proven talent or prospects? Say 40 million is a chunk of money, like half of Anderson. I would at the moment, like for this year, I would say for United, I think we should prioritise the first team in this next year, and we should certainly prioritise trying to get the top targets. I think this is the sort of deal that we could definitely look at trying to do in the future, because I think these sort of deals you need to do. I think we should look at it as at this sort of price. It's starting to get a little bit like this is more than Hackney. I'm not saying like 5 years time this player is probably going to be levels above Hayden Hackney, but in the short term, if Manchester United get Champions League football for the next 3 or 4 years, then we will be able to buy one of these players every single year, and it won't be a problem. It's something where if we mess up this team and don't get Champions League football, it's just going to set us back another couple of years. So it is tricky, isn't it? How can you get the transfers right when there's so much instability with the coach? And say players look at the coach instability, it puts them off. Would you look at that and say, like, given that at the end of the season, at the moment, players always go to Chelsea, and if you go to Chelsea, I've used this example for years. If you go to Chelsea, they're probably replacing the head coach manager every single season. Like I think if you look back over 10 years, I don't think Chelsea have kept the same head coach or manager for more than like 18 months to 2 years maximum. So if you sign a 6, 7, 8 year contract at Chelsea, you're going to play for at least five head coaches. So I don't think it's put them off at Chelsea. Maybe because they have had more consistency in the league recently. It might put them off, like Manchester United, possibly because we have seen different head coaches not use certain players. Would it put them off Manchester City? I don't know. The only team really that you'd say, like Manchester City, there is a question mark. And this is one where I think it's an interesting one. When people are talking about Pep Guardiola and elite coaches, I read somewhere where I think people are thinking, do you remember Alex Ferguson leaving Manchester United? And he didn't leave after we lost the title and goal difference. He wanted to go out winning the league. I think Pep Guardiola, if Arsenal win the league, I think Pep Guardiola stays one more year, gets the league title, then disappears. If City win the league, I think it might be it. That might be Pep Guardiola leaving on a high. That's what I'm thinking. So that could be a situation that maybe changes Manchester City a little bit. But I think this player we're talking about now, I don't think they're going to be concerned about who's head coach. But I think in terms of getting the first team players in, it might be quite important for a player like Anderson. It might be quite important for Tonali, possibly. And Saint in the Sky says, for me, the only way to rebuild is if we stick with one manager for at least 4 to 5 years, play one system, or else. So, bought say attacking midfielders at the beginning of the season, letting them go, selling our wingers. I think that yeah, I think Manchester United probably made a mistake with hiring a manager that wants to play a different way that didn't really suit the squad, didn't really align with what we wanted to do as a club either. And I do agree with this one. I think what you need to look at is, say, for example, if Manchester United set up their squad and they want to play 4-2-3-1 or a very similar formation and have that as kind of like let's get our squad suitable to play this sort of formation, then if you get Michael Carrick or if you get, like, say, I don't, you could list a few managers and we've got ones here like Nagelsmann, Luis Enrique, and people talked about Tuchel, and you probably look at, let's say, Areola and other managers. If you can get a list of managers, you probably need to look at it and say, look, if we go down that route, we need to make sure that if we go from one head coach to another, we're not looking for a head coach that then suddenly has very different ideas. You kind of have to stick with a strategy and go with it. And I believe that's what Manchester United actually came out and said. They came out and said about a year ago, maybe 18 months, maybe even longer. They said the director of football will set the style, will set the transfer situation, will set the squad build. Vivel's, I think, should be in charge of that in terms of what squad we're building. And then you have to look at the head coaches coming in that suit and work out. That's what you're thinking. You need to get it that way around. Saying, yeah, that's why Diamonde is a Rashford replacement. That's why there's a couple of stories talking about Rafael Leao, who that we don't really think we should be getting, but we do start seeing more wingers being linked to Manchester United, and it's because they moved on. They had Anthony, Sancho, Marcus Rashford, Garnacho. The wingers are gone, and we started buying more attacking players. But there's no doubt that Cunha and Wemo are good players. But you would be looking at it and saying that we do need a bit more width. We do need like some natural width, and that's something that United are looking at. So in a way, it is frustrating. It feels like Manchester United moved on players for different reasons, like Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, Anthony. They left for a combination of reasons, but usually the reason was they weren't performing consistently high enough level. But at the time, we didn't buy wingers. We bought different players. I think we bought good players, but it has kind of set us back a little bit in terms of what we're trying to do, and it's something that we need to learn from and do that. So I think you make a good point. But I would say if you went for Nagelsmann or Carrick or Luis Enrique, you just need to make sure that you get a manager that then suits the same way of playing, because otherwise, like I think you were saying exactly the same thing. Otherwise, it's going to be quite difficult, isn't it? Cody says no guarantee Nagelsmann does better. I mean, Nagelsmann comes in with, I suppose, a lot of credit in the bank from Bundesliga fans, and no, I'm not going to say too much about Nagelsmann today, but I think that people that were talking about Nagelsmann that I know on YouTube were talking about him about 4 years ago. So he's been rated for quite a while by a lot of fans. But again, there is no guarantees in football. I do agree with that one. I say it doesn't put them off Chelsea because they throw money at players. So United won't do that. I don't think Chelsea pay more than Manchester United, so I think they will get decent money. But I think you need to be careful as well. Like, I think if you're looking at this, well, apparently one of the reasons why certain players joined was like meetings with Ruben Amorim. I would love to see Manchester United sort out the head coach situation sooner rather than later. It would just be, one less thing to think about. If Manchester United are thinking they're going to stick with Carrick, like, maybe they should just say that and do that now and stick with Carrick. And maybe they could look at possibly changing the backroom staff behind Carrick, and maybe that would be an approach. But no, otherwise, you could look at the situation and say, if you're not going to be, if you're thinking there's a better option out there, try and get that option quite soon and just get this resolved. We're talking about, what's it, like 21st of April? We've still got time. There's no, there's obviously like a lot of time from now till we need to sort this out. But the sooner you do, the sooner you, as I said, when we're talking about transfers, a lot of these conversations are already happening. So a lot of the conversations are already going. There's already a lot of talks. Like Manchester City are advancing on Anderson, but they're kind of cooling it in the mainstream media because of the relegation fight Forest are under. At the moment, the situation at City isn't 100% crystal clear either, but whether Pep Guardiola is definitely going to stay, there's always a little bit of uncertainty. I think if they win the league, then I think Pep might go, and maybe that changes things a little bit. But maybe for City, they do have this record of like replacing head coaches and keep winning the league. So they're winning the league before Pep. They'll probably still win the league after Pep if they carry on shaping the squad the way they are. And but I think with United, if we kind of looking at trying to get players, they probably need to. Like, if I was a football player and I look at Manchester United and think Manchester United finished 15th one season, the next season you finished third, right? And the reason you finished third was partly because you signed better players, but also because you reshaped your coaching. What happens if Michael Carrick then gets replaced with an option that doesn't work out? Like, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee who Manchester United would go for if they didn't go for Carrick. So it could be a gamble. As a football player, I have no idea either. How is Michael Carrick going to cope with Champions League football and the Premier League? So it could go either way with Carrick. It could go either way with another another head coach. But I think the one thing that is probably as close to a guarantee as possible, if Manchester United buy some good players in midfield, they look at getting like they are looking for a left winger, but maybe sometimes they're also looking at potential players that could be left forward. Adeyemi seems to get occasionally linked, but I don't think there's too many much legs in that story. But looking at someone that could play striker, could play left or right, look at some versatile players. If you do that and make your squad better, then it's gonna like whether Carrick's in charge or whether Nagelsmann's in charge, it's gonna benefit everybody, isn't it? And say since we're not looking for a manager and a head coach, so basically Jason Wilcox will decide on formation and players to buy, so he is the manager. That's what people are looking at. It's a combination of factors, isn't it? There's that Jason Wilcox, there's Omar Barada, you got Vivell there as well. They're going to have different ideas. Then I've heard it in the past that people are looking at saying Wilcox is a 4-3-3 guy as well, says Yardi, which is true. I think 4-2-3-1 just seems to be a good approach, but again, I think what you're looking at is if you can shape your squad in a way which is suitable to at least kind of that sort of style of play or similar to that style of play, it's just if you're looking at getting rid of your wingers, getting wing backs, that I think we did a lot of changes that maybe made our squad a little bit. It's a bit difficult to then suddenly get a manager that suits everything, but that's why you have to have some medium term planning, don't you? That it's almost like if you're asking whether Nagelsmann or Michael Carrick would be the best man for the job, it's almost like they have to sit at a table with Wilcox, with Vivell, and they have to they have to agree with what the plan is. Like if there's a difference of opinion, if what Michael Carrick or Nagelsmann wants to do with the team isn't going to fit the vision of people above them at the club, it's not going to work. Oli Biscuit Barrel says 115 reasons. I think is it still 115, or is it? It's. I thought it had gone up slightly, but 115. They should take one trophy off for each rule break and see what they got left. So, given the size of our squad, we're in a worse position planning for next season than we were the end of last season. I would say, yeah, last season we had a worse squad. I think numbers wise, this is the first transfer window ever. I've looked at Manchester United and thought it's not just about getting quality. You need to get way more depth across the board. Like a backup goalkeeper. Like if Binder's say if Binder's playing, if Schlamens is injured, we've got a problem. If Sesko's injured, there's no actual replacement for him at the club. And the midfield centre back situation is down to the bare bones, isn't it? Luke Shaw's the only left back, isn't he, at the club? we could make a case for Emas or Dorgu, but Luke Shaw's really the only one. I think that's why Pedro Porro has been linked yesterday, and United will be looking at various options for all these positions. This is why, yeah, the option we got on screen, as good as Eduardo is, and I'm sure he's fantastic. Is it going to be? Is it going to be one of these deals where if Man United, can you imagine if we got? I think did we buy Armadillo too early? Armadillo, we signed from. I think he might have cost possibly similar money to this, and it was a little bit of time at the club. It was a couple of years of loaning him out, and then eventually comes back to the team. I don't know that Armadillo wasn't particularly cheap. I think there's a lot of. I think it was initially cheap, but a lot of add-ons. I'm just thinking that yeah, it took years to get Armadillo into the first team. Would we see the same situation and with no guarantee? So I think it's something that Man United have done in the past, and I think that might be that might be an example. But yeah, I think you might be on something there. I think with like Wilcox might have it, and again, I think people might be disagreeing a little bit on how much say should Wilcox have. I think people blame Wilcox for the situation that happened last year. I'm not. I mean, ultimately, people above will be probably making the call. Big up to you, Clive. Good to see you in the chat, Clive. So, is this one where if you're going to say yes or no to the transfer, are people leaning towards like I have been saying that there's nothing but positives in terms of like scouting about this player. There's nothing negative to say about this player. The only question is going to be like if Manchester United could land all their targets and get enough quality into the first team, I would be absolutely fine with this deal. I'm just wondering whether is there potentially Man United do they have like a separate budget for potential star players in the future? And this is what people are saying about Conceição as well. For people that watch lots of different football, this is some of the comparisons that I've heard said. They're talking about they're saying that Estevao and Endrick had the spotlight, and they say Eduardo is now getting attention, and it might be that it was under no maybe not really talked about because of those other quality players. I mean, Estevao, Endrick, obviously good players. I think actually Endrick was talking highly of Manchester United recently. I don't know if there's anything in that at all, but it could be that for some reason Real Madrid players, whether they're actually looking for, I don't know, a contract extension or something, it does seem to be that yeah, there's a lot of talks, isn't there, regarding Real Madrid players in Manchester United at the moment. I'm not sure how much I believe it. I think with Real Madrid you've got to be a bit cautious. But no, looking at this, they're saying that Estevao was like took the spotlight. So did Endrick, and I guess with Estevao, we've seen lots of quality from him. And saying at the moment, Conceição would be the third youngest player to ever play for Palmeiras, and the two people above him, like Endrick's one of them, Tade's another one of those, and saying that would be ahead of people like Estevao. See, when you look at it, when you look at look at the sort of names coming through, I think Estevao and Endrick are examples of people that have been signed at a similar age, and we can see them in the first team of Premier League clubs. So I can't really open too many more windows because I've got loads and loads of things open. But how old is Esteban? If anyone knows how old Esteban is, please post it in the chat because that's one example of a player that's come through, bought very young, and then a little bit under, I suppose not under the radar, but we see him in the Premier League playing well, looks quality. Um, but this is kind of Chelsea's model as well. I don't know whether Chelsea's plan is to keep him at the club long term or whether to sell him on. But if anyone is able to post how old Estevao is, just to give an example of you know kind of what would be a sensible time frame, please post that in, and I'll find that comment. Yeah. Cheers, Rob, and cheers, Nems. Yeah, is anyone able to post how old Estevao is, the Chelsea player? I just want to see, in terms of like development, he's obviously a first team player, has been for a little while. I mean, he went off against Manchester United, didn't he? But he was a player that is good. So he's 18 years old. Thank you, Kylie. So 18 years old, Estevao, and I think obviously you'd say he's been playing well for Chelsea for a while. He he broke into the Palmeiras first team at what's expected to be a slightly later age. So he didn't break into the first team as quick as Conceição is. So to give you an idea of where Manchester United and where clubs are looking at him, it's not like years and years of development. It is literally maybe like a getting towards that stage where a bit of experience. I mean, the Premier League is the step up, but we've seen with Estevao, he's going to be. He looks like a very good player. How much would Esteban be worth now? I have no idea how much he costs, but he's the sort of signing that Chelsea do. And the worst case scenario is if you make profit from a player, I don't mind Manchester United making profit if it then gets reinvested in the squad. But I think what United are doing, hopefully, is the idea is not necessarily to make profit because we're not, we didn't buy say some of the players recently to make profit. We bought them young, thinking we might save a bit of money. And even like Aiden Heaven, we could sell him for 20 million easily. I'm sure. I don't think that's anything we're considering doing. We're just going to be shaping the squad, hopefully cheaper. But whatever Esteban is worth now, I think Chelsea would make a significant profit. But also, it benefits Chelsea because Esteban is going to be, I think, a better player than Garnacho. Garnacho cost them 40 million. It's probably be how much did Gittins was like 60 million. So I think what you're seeing here is that some of these players, like forget the age because some of them go into the first team a lot quicker. Remember Aiden Heaven as an example. At the time, it was an academy player from Arsenal. It was about what's his trajectory, what's his like pathway into the first team, and we can see it's actually quite quick. He's only played about 20 games, and already he looks like a good player. So it is like one of these like again, if the scouts are coming to Manchester United and saying this player is good enough, as a fan, I'd have to say that I don't know for sure. I don't know loads, and that's why I said if you're on the Discord, have a look at the video later. Like I did post it, and I think that's something we're going to try and keep up to date as well. So we're going to try and post a few things in the Discord regularly. If you follow Manchester United and you're interested in any sort of news, the Discord server is a forum where people will share information, but also feel free to come in and post things yourself in the appropriate section, share information regarding transfer stories, information. If you've got like clips and videos and things, you can put that there as well. Because at the moment, we're building up a bit of a resource there. I think people did share things about Jashari a year ago, and I think also about Buwadi. There's like clips there as well. People can post there. So I think this is the one where if I see something on social media, I'll post it there and you can look at it. So there's basically just a clip of him beating a load of people, scoring a goal. I think it's like close control ability that at the moment is kind of setting him a bit apart from his peers at his age. And to be honest, the track record of some of these players coming through that team is extremely good. So I think this is why you're starting to look at this sort of price. But yeah, eight. Let's have a look. So, backup striker, backup keeper. Is this going to be one where like a lot of people were talking about Cheeto, and like Cheeto, I think was performing because of his size, physicality. That maybe what they're looking at is United are thinking that maybe in the future you got Benjamin Sesko there, and I think a lot of people were thinking like backup striker, like you're saying. Is there any chance that Man United are actually looking at like some of the time we're not buying, we don't seem to be buying multiple players for certain positions. Is there going to be some expectation that, like, no, most of the time, if you're looking at academies, most of the time players aren't walking out of the academy and playing significant games in the first team. But United are approaching things a bit different. We're not signing players that are 8, 9, 10, and hoping they develop into academy players. What we're doing now is we're actually stocking the academy with players that we know are going to be are going to be either Premier League players or close to that in the near future. That's why Man United bought Garnacho. Man United bought Garnacho to go into the academy. And the idea was he was going to go in the academy for a little bit, straight into the first team. And I think what United are doing now is like Aiden Heaven didn't even go into the academy, did he? He was like a first team player, but from an academy. I think that's what we're looking at regarding this one is that the academy. In the past, I've said the academy, you can't guarantee that people are going to walk out of that into the first team. But what they are doing is now academy players are being like brought into Manchester United. at the right age so that they then count as homegrown players. So there's a certain time frame you've got to play in the academy to count as a homegrown player. Manchester United are doing that, so Garnacho counts as a homegrown player, I'm pretty sure, but he was taken from the Atletico Madrid academy. So I think it's Atletico Madrid. So you look at that as being like some of the work Man United are doing is it's just because the rules are factored that way. So is Xerxes not a good backup? I'm I think with Xerxes, I think people generally think and there is actually people posting positives about Xerxes. He's been a good bench option recently, but I think with Xerxes, I get the feeling that he's very much like on the periphery of the team. When we've seen Benjamin Sesko injured at the start parts of this season, we've just not seen Xerxes starting games. I think Xerxes is probably earmarked for a sale for Manchester United, and I think they're going to be looking at reinvesting that money possibly in midfield. So Xerxes has been here 2 years. I think if you haven't really cemented a team position at that point, I think Man United are looking at moving him on. So I don't know if you disagree. Um, um, Definitely with this one. I think this is just a like I'm just looking at games played. I don't see Xerxes playing many games, and I think Manchester United have decided that Xerxes is going to be someone that they can sell. I think Xerxes may be looking to move back to Italy, from what I've seen, that it might be that he would be a good option there. I say Cheeto looks a bit leggy, then I think it's just like patience, isn't it? Cheeto was he was probably pushed into the first team a bit too soon. But again, like with Cheeto, if he can play for Manchester United, brilliant. But Manchester United is probably the aim for our club is to try and be the top team in the Premier League and to be one of the top teams in Europe. So the ceiling is going to be very high, and it could be that Cheeto gets to that level, but it could be that Cheeto becomes a Premier League player in a mid-table club. We don't know. I think it's very difficult to guess where he's going to be. For what you've seen of Eduardo now, you think he'd be bullied in England, so going to Spain would be the wise move for him. Do you think? I'm not sure how tall he is, but again at that age, then yeah, at that age, I think that's sometimes a key. Do you think it's I know there is definitely a precedent for younger South American players going to La Liga. It could be that maybe that's a factor as well. I think it's difficult. I think when you're looking at, let's be honest though, if you're looking at a 16-year-old, there's going to be massive development over the next couple of years. Then what you're seeing at the moment is a very high skill set, very great, no, great ability on the ball, and the physical part of it at 16. I mean, I grew. I don't think I stopped growing until I was about 21 ish. So I think you're gonna grow loads, aren't you? When we got Aiden Heaven was like 6'5", I think he is, like absolutely massive. I think I'm not sure how tall Conceição is, but it could be massive change in a couple of years. So maybe you're looking at that. I think if you was looking at a move to Manchester United, then Manchester United would probably be looking to loan him somewhere for a little bit of time, a little bit like Leon. I think it's really difficult to say how quick you'd get there. But I think if you're looking at an 18-year-old version, you could see that a completely different, it could be a completely different story in a year's time. We don't know, but I think the Premier League is unforgiving, isn't it? The best example I could give would be look at Aiden Heaven and look at Yoro. And Yoro's got a few years' experience, but he is finding it physically. It's difficult, and if he doesn't get protection from another centre back, it is difficult for Yoro. And we saw Dominic Calvert-Lewin's going to cause problems. It is like I think with some of the defenders in the Premier League as well. The thing that he's got is he has got maybe he hasn't got the physical presence yet, but there has been examples of some players that don't necessarily have the physical. Like someone like Giggs wasn't physical, but if you got the trickery to beat people, I think if you got the ability on the ball, yeah, it might no, it might be that he finds it difficult. But I would honestly say that if he jumped into the Premier League now, it would be a massive level up anyway. So it's maybe that's a now, maybe he's thinking of it in terms of would France be a good option? I mean, France does have like some physical teams, but it's not going to be the same level as the Premier League week in week out. I think they're looking at their options. I'm guessing with this one, given that if all these options are on the table, I mean Manchester City is still looking at it. I mean Newcastle were interested, so there is a lot of Premier League teams, and financially the Premier League teams might be up there. I don't think we've seen anything sort of concrete from other teams. Barcelona are linked, but yeah, they're saying, yeah, I think it's something along the lines of if you look at clips of JJ Gabriel, then he's able to do the same sort of thing. And people are questioning whether JJ Gabriel is a bit greedy. But when you can do it at that age, yeah, it's gonna be different in the Premier League. But I think the goals I've seen him score for like Conceição, he's not gonna be able to do that in the Premier League. It's gonna be like a very steep learning curve at that age. But it's going to be pretty difficult, isn't it? Yeah, I think Xerxes. I think it's like a 2 year thing. I think Xerxes will. I think there'll be a few clubs interested in Xerxes. I mean, he's definitely decent on the ball. I say let's go back in for Watkins. Yeah, I'm pretty sure United will not be going for. How old's Watkins now? If they didn't want to go for Watkins last year, I don't think there's any chance they go for Watkins this year. If you look at Watkins, like even when we're talking about, I think people are starting to look at United transfers in terms of a little bit similar. It's kind of similar to Chelsea in age range that United are that we're not copying Chelsea completely. Like I think we are going for some better quality players than Chelsea are, but I think what we are doing is we are looking at younger players, and I don't think what's the oldest player we signed since the Ineos have been kind of making decisions. I'm sure Mazraoui might be the oldest player we signed, so we're not signing anyone particularly. I don't think we're going to sign anyone that's late 20s anymore. Do I think we'll promote a few academy players to fill out the squad? Then I would be, yeah, I would be thinking that United might be looking at a couple of players. I don't think you'd get loads of players to fill out the squad. People are talking about a few, aren't they? So I think in terms of this one, I think we might see a bit more from Lacey. I think people talk about Thwaites. There's other people that we saw a little bit from Fletcher, didn't we, in one or two games. I'm just thinking like Kone. There's potential there, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think we're going to see loads. What I'm hoping for is are we going to be in a situation where hopefully Manchester United, if we start playing better, then are we going to have an easy cup game? Are we going to have some potentially? Is there going to be one or two Champions League games where you could have some academy players on the bench, maybe give them a little bit of time? I think it might be gradual. I think that it is going to be quite difficult, but there is probably a bit potential, isn't it? Lacey actually looked quite promising, but again, it's going to be a long time before we see him regularly in the first team. I'll say, was Masraoui only 26? So who's the oldest player we've signed since Ineos? I thought Masraoui might still be the oldest. I'm just trying to think if there's anyone older. Because like Agate was younger, Xerxes, Rasmus. Some of the players are really young. I can't think of anyone. I think Masraoui was the oldest, wasn't he? So 26 years old. It looked like Man United were actually going, right, we're going to sign players that are 25, 26 for the first team, or we're going to be Yeah, or we're going to be signing players that are younger. So that's why, as a fan, I was thinking, whatever happens, United will probably be better in a couple of years' time because all these players are at an age where they improve. So if you sign players that are going to be teenagers or early 20s, then naturally they might not take off loads, but they're all going to be better players, aren't they? Welcome to the community as well, definitely. I hope I'm saying the name right. They're saying, yeah, Champions League. We're looking forward to this. Like last year, we were doing streams. Okay, this channel is quite new, but we did have a big community on a different channel, so we've restarted here. But we did have 10K plus before. We're going to build this channel up very quickly. Last year, we had big Europa League nights, late night streams, 10 p.m. to midnight, talking about football. We're hoping. I mean, I'm not sure where you're watching from. Definitely whether at the moment it's 10 a.m. in the UK, But when the Champions League nights are on, we're going to be doing late night streams. It's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I'm also looking forward to the new format. We haven't got to play in the new format. And the thing I like about it is we're going to play 8 different teams. It's going to mix it up. We're going to go back into Europe and it's going to feel like fast forward. We might be playing like Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, and Bayern Munich in like one season. I'm hoping we get some big names because we've missed those big nights. And even if we get complete mix of names. I think the way the draw's done, I have no idea about seeding or how it's organised, but Manchester United potentially will get some big teams because we've not been in that competition for a while. I'm not sure whether you can play. I'm sure you can't play domestic teams, so there's gonna be a lot of big teams we play. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. I think the other thing is the only kind of negative is that it's going to put a lot more pressure on our team. That's why when I talk about Conceição, people appreciate he's a really talented player, but we also have to look at it. Where is our team at the moment? Like, what is the situation with our football team? Can Manchester United afford to sign these sort of players at the moment as well? And like, we're not going to give you money. We're not. We're not going to do this. I saw a player actually. Who was it that was linked? There was actually. I saw this and I was not particularly happy, but this might be one that Liverpool fans like. It looks like whether you're going to sell Gakpo, you're not going to sell Gakpo to us. I mean, definitely not. And I saw somewhere yesterday that Liverpool are looking at Diamonde as their Mo Salah replacement, which is a bit of a concern because Mo Salah, I don't know if there was not definitely a year ago lots of big money offers from Saudi for Mo Salah. I don't know if they're still on the table or whether Saudi is still a place Mo Salah would consider or whether he's just not interested. But no, Liverpool could balance the books a bit by selling Salah. I'm not, or unless his contract's up, I'm not sure the situation there. But it looks like they're looking at Diamonde as a replacement, which is a shame because he's a player that Pavel really loves, and he's one that's interesting. Yeah, Barca need to pay it for Rashford, don't they? 100%, 100%. So not a lot of people get it right. No worries, definitely. Good to see you though. Are you watching from the UK or Europe, or is it a different time zone? Sometimes if I do a morning stream in the UK, occasionally I've had people joining in from Australia. I think it might be quite early where they are. I think United will likely be pot two, so we'll play one other team from pot two, 2 teams from pot one. I'm kind of looking forward to it. That if we get some big teams, then bring it on. Like it's a long competition. I'm kind of looking forward to getting that. So no, it could be a difficult competition, but no, I look at it and think the Champions League is something that we're kind of missing out, and they changed the format. I think the Europa League was actually slightly more interesting when we were in it last time because we did play a lot of different teams, and it's quite nice playing teams once rather than twice. So, and also maybe we're going to be involved in that drama. That game 8 week. I think that game 8 was actually quite fun to watch from a neutral because it's a bit like watching the end of the season, isn't it? I say Salah's leaving on a free. That's good news then. I don't want to see Mo Salah going for like 100 million like it was talked about. Well, actually, last year it was talked about 150. Can you imagine that if Liverpool managed to get 150 for him? That would be so disappointing. I was thinking it was like another Coutinho. I'm thinking, oh no. Yeah, Champions League football is pretty much like if there's any Chelsea fans watching, which I doubt because we just beat you, and you probably don't want to be here. But no, I don't think Chelsea are going to get enough points to overtake us if we got no points from now on. Anyway, so and apparently Leo Rosenior is already complaining about the people above him, so he's gone at the end of the season. Morning, Debassis. I always forget where you watch from, Debassis, and what sort of time zone this hits you. I will bring back the map at some point. That is definitely on the cards. But what do people think regarding the transfer we've been talking about then? Just a quick kind of maybe like a quick yes, no. Are people interested? Do people look at this as a potential option? Because at the moment, I would say the price makes me think. Let me put a comment in the chat as well. So this will be a quick 5 minute poll just to gauge opinion. So let me just find this one. This is just going to be like, should we sign Conceição for say 34 million? So we'll just do a quick yes no for like 5 minutes. I'm just going to copy and paste his name so I can get the accents on it. So let's start a poll. So should United sign him for, let's put in like the price. So it's going to be in pounds, 34 million. In euros would be 40. So should United sign Conceição for 34 million? We'll have a 5 minute vote on this one just to see what people think. Just to see what people think. I mean, we've said a lot about it for the last hour. Positives, negatives, Manchester United squad, etc. I know with a lot of people the answer will be yes if we can get the rest of our team, etc., etc. Um, welcome Bruno to the chat as well, saying will we be able to nurture young talents? There's a lot of pressure on younger players that come to Manchester United. Are we able to shield them from that so we can't be Chelsea on steroids? Then it is difficult, isn't it? If you think about Manchester United with Alex Ferguson, there was a lot of infrastructure in place to make sure younger players didn't go off the rails and were developed in a sensible manner. That's something that Manchester United need to massively bring back. That's why I think this is a club overhaul in terms of how things are run. So you need to make sure that we don't have a situation with Garnacho, etc., and younger players coming through that seem to, if you think about it, Garner, Garnacho, Alvaro, they've all gone now. And some part of that has been the club messing up a little bit. And if you're looking at shielding them from that, I think at the moment, Aiden Heaven, it seems to have gone really well with him. And I think that's worked out pretty positively. There's not loads of other examples. Dorga was quite young. That seems to have gone quite well. I think when you're looking at an academy player, maybe maybe Manchester United also need to really think about what they're going to do regarding JJ Gabriel. There's a lot of noise, and I think a lot of it's coming from JJ Gabriel's family as well. There's like I think has his dad got some like YouTube stuff, there's social media stuff around it as well. So it's going to be a big media circus, unfortunately, with that one. I don't know how Man United are going to be trying to ground this player, but it is quite difficult, isn't it? So Chelsea in the same club that you dislike Chelsea the most. That's interesting. You're from Norway, aren't you? Yarli. Do I pronounce is it Jarl or Yarli? I'm never quite sure, but I think you're from Norway. I mean, Helgi's a regular guest on here from Norway as well. I think people. He said that he dislikes Leeds. Actually, I don't know whether he said there was a lot of Leeds fans where he was from. So they say they cannot remove the manager because they have no money. Yeah, I don't know the financial situation. They also need to sell before they can do anything. Chelsea spent 500 million though, didn't they? So perfect price for Lumen. But this is a boat to see. Cheeto's remained off the front pages too. That's a good point actually. Cheeto, no one's talking. No one's talking. I think people are wondering what's happening with Cheeto because it's being just like kept under the radar, which is maybe a bit surprising considering he was a first team player or was playing first team football. And Saint in disguise. I'm guessing you're a Man United fan. Like when I first saw the comment, I was thinking Southampton, but I'm pretty sure no. I've got a very good friend that's a Southampton fan. So nice if we could sign at least one proven midfielder like Casemiro replacement. We talked about Tchouaméni last night in a really long stream, but that was one where we're very suspicious of Real Madrid players, and I think with the experience, Manchester United might be looking at Premier League One. Alex Scott, I see being talked about again today. Maybe that's something for the 1 p.m. stream. And for people that just tuned in as well, we do stream multiple times a day. At the moment, like 9 a.m., I'm not a morning person, so 9 a.m. is a slight struggle. But 1 p.m. and then tonight it might be a guest host. Jules might be hosting tonight at 9 p.m. So anyone that's watching that's a regular viewer, please tune in at 9 p.m. to support Jules. There might be some guests on as well. We'll see, but that'll be a good one. So I might get a bit of a break slightly earlier in the night tonight. So yeah, but I agree, it would be really nice. So Conceição could be good competition for Ahmed. Have we been unfair to Cheeto and JJ? I don't know. JJ's 15, isn't he? I don't know what we're like. Um, JJ can't do anything. Like he can't play in the Premier League due to his age. So I don't think Manchester United have done anything with that one. So no, I don't think there's going to be anything with that one. I think with Cheeto, Manchester United gave him a couple of games in the first team, didn't they? And the only thing is, well, the only kind of reservation I've got with Conceição is Almajali we signed at quite a young age, and then maybe there was something wrong with the way the club was developing players because we haven't really, we seem to have made more mistakes than successes recently, and that's something Manchester United need to turn around. But I'm hoping we're moving in the right direction regarding that. It does seem to be that we are, if we are going to be signing more and more younger players, we have to actually make sure we bring these players through, develop them well, and coaching is going to be so important as well. So you might retire from, well, retire from the internet due to age verification. It depends what you're watching. I mean, Um, if you're watching things that require one thing actually that somebody said to me that there's some like times like gaming stuff that requires age verification. It is really annoying. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know if it must be like some sort of easier way of doing things like that. But yeah, technology is taking over, unfortunately, isn't it? Rob says we used to be known for bringing through younger players. Now we never give them a chance. So it's come down to I think sometimes it comes down to like if you imagine Alex Ferguson was in a position where he had like no, he had a very good team. First team players come through, but Alex Ferguson didn't throw in the 17-year-old and give them like say right, you got to sink or swim. So I think Alex Ferguson did it in the right way, and I think we give them a chance, but sometimes we get it wrong a bit, and sometimes we throw them in, then they never come back again. And I think what we need to do is if Man United have actually had a say under Michael Carrick, I do believe that if Lacey hadn't got sent off, or if we were in a different position and we played some like say we had Europa League games or FA Cup games, I think we might give academy players more of a chance. Maybe over the whole season, we've probably given Aidan Heaven a decent amount of games for a 19-year-old centre back, considering the situation. And we had De Ligt, we had Martinez, we had we had Yoro, and we had Maguire in front of him. I think Aidan Heaven has actually done pretty well. He hasn't had a lot of games. I think he should have had more, but it's a bit difficult. Did he fail PK? I just saw that comment. Sir Alex Ferguson, I think PK joined when we had Vidic and Rio. It was a bad time for him, wasn't it? So Heaven doesn't have the price tag pressure because he cost just 1 million. And say JJ Gabriel currently too young. And say yeah, Dorgu definitely. Dorgu benefited from playing further forward, didn't he? If you're in the Discord, which is better, then if this is if this is a comment about Conceição, if you're in the Discord server, there are links to the socials in the stream. If you're in the Discord server, I posted a video clip of Conceição just to show for people that just have never seen him, just to show like one example of something he's been doing. So that was something I thought would be worth it. At the moment, the poll is 67%, so I'll let it run for another minute, and then I'll have to wrap up. But yeah, 67%. So two-thirds of people are currently saying they'd get this player, which is interesting. If people are watching now, just let me know in the comments, just would you get this player, just so I can see what individual thoughts is. Has Heaven done enough against Chelsea to start over Maguire? I would start Harry Maguire and Aiden Heaven. I think that would be a good combination. So I think he did well. I think Aiden Heaven did really well. I think Aiden Heaven, the conversation should be, has Aiden Heaven overtaken Yoro as the best young centre back prospect at Manchester United? So I think Harry Maguire will always be starting at the moment, and you'd have one younger player and one older player. Makes a lot of sense. So Aiden Heaven can learn loads from any experienced player at Manchester United. And the question is going to be is like do Manchester United need another centre back to go alongside him next season? So I think Aiden Heaven starts. I think Maguire starts. What's the Discord link? So there should. What I'll do is I'll just post. I'll post something again, just quickly, so people have got the link. I'll just post this as well. So if you want to look in the Discord or share things in the Discord, that would be absolutely great as well. Then please do so. Let's copy the link address. I'll put it in there. This is like obviously this Discord is free. This Discord is a community Discord I set up about 5 years ago, and it's for all football fans. So all football fans, there's there's links to. I've got a TikTok account which I've been a bit lazy on at the moment, but there's the socials. I didn't know if I posted it, but I posted socials there. So there's links to everything there as well. If you're any football fan like Nems, like you're absolutely welcome to join the Discord. Bruno, I think you joined the Discord recently. Yeah, just if you want to post anything in the Discord, it's a great place to share videos and things that you see, any sort of football articles you see, anything you want to talk about, post it in the Discord, and it'll just eventually this sort of content will feed into the streams, and we can talk about it. So it gives me more information. It gives people that are watching a bit more information. So if I'm sat here talking about Conceição, and everybody's got a lot of questions saying, right, what sort of player is he? How does he look on the ball? Then if there's a couple of clips, and last year we had a big conversation about Boadi. When people can post a comment or post a video about Boadi in the Discord, it just helps with that. People we can have a conversation between us when we've all seen a few more clips and we all have a bit more information. So again, there's so many players that are linked, and they're going to be like the fact we're talking about 16-year-olds in South America. We're casting the net everywhere. There's going to be so that no one's going to watch all these players. No one's going to know all these players, but we can actually have a look at a few clips, and maybe that helps because I think when you look at the clips, you can look at also like how physical is he. If it's Nem's birthday, then big up to you. Happy birthday! But also, you guys make sure you get in the Discord as a football fan. Even like any stories you want to post, like football related transfer news and things, just get involved. And it's just again, the more people that get involved in the Discord, the better. Cody's doing a good job of running the Facebook group as well. But again, this is all like football community stuff, and the conversations that and the information that's posted there does follow through into like this. The article about Conceição posted by Jim, I believe, might have been yesterday morning. And again, I found some information on the social media. I found a few articles in national newspapers as well in the UK. So the information's there, and the little videos as well are something that we can't share on Twitter because they just get taken down. But we can post it in the Discord for a little bit of time and see it there. So at least it's one place where people can just everybody's using a different social media platform. The Discord is just one place where you can share information. So big up to Jim for keeping us up to date with like some of the stories going on as well. And I'll just be like talking about them as well on here. So we're gonna have to close this conversation, but I'll just quickly look at the poll and just see where our thoughts lie with this one. Probably, if I'm honest, a little bit higher than I thought, and maybe like 34 million, 73% of people said yes. Maybe I should have put a poll in a bit earlier, but I think sometimes it's good to actually maybe I should have had a conversation for about 15, 20 minutes, then put the poll in. But it seems that there's a lot of positivity. So nearly three-quarters of the people watching would sign Conceição for 34 million. Interesting, but maybe bookmark this name and see what happens because it looks like he's going to move, but maybe definitely this transfer window, unless something dramatic happens with the club and they don't want to they don't want to lose him if they lose other players. But it looks like they're definitely going to sell him, and it's one to look out for, one story to keep a track on. We did the same thing with Jashari, we did the same thing with Naipan, and saw where they went. And interesting to just keep track of these sort of things. But also, welcome to everybody that's joined that's new. Thanks for getting involved in the community. And thanks people from rival teams as well, Clive and Nems, for getting involved in the community. Great to see you guys. Please say hello to the Discord if you're in there. There's about 60 plus people at the moment, so it'd be good to get that into three figures quite soon. Yeah, maybe some of the Fletcher brothers do play a little bit that same looking at this. If Manchester United win the next game and Chelsea lose, maybe we see one or two games towards the end of the season where potentially we get a few more minutes. We have seen that in previous seasons. But I should be back hopefully about 1 p.m. with some more news to discuss. If you want to leave a comment on the video of anything you see recently that you think would be a fun topic to discuss, we will look into that. Until then, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.